This is Your Anxiety Toolkit, episode number 117. Welcome to Your Anxiety Toolkit. I'm your host, Kimberly Quinlan. This podcast is fueled by three main goals. The first goal is to provide you with some extra tools to help you manage your anxiety. Second goal, to inspire you. Anxiety doesn't get to decide how you live your life. And number three, and I leave the best for last, is to provide you with one big, fat virtual hug. Because experiencing anxiety ain't easy. If that sounds good to you, let's go. Welcome back. Hey you guys, how are you doing? I'm checking in with you. How are you? Let's all just join and do one deep breath, shall we? Maybe two, maybe three, maybe as many as you need. My guess is we need a few, right? It's been a long, long summer, and I'm sure by the sounds of what I'm hearing, you guys are doing some incredibly hard things. So first of all, I just honor you. I see you. I hear you. I respect you for what you're doing and going through and what you've experienced, and the fact that you just keep getting up and you keep trying, and that's what this is all about. It's so incredibly inspiring. So thank you for being the inspiration that keeps me going. I have some reflecting to do with you guys today. I've had some high highs and some low lows. I really want to share them with you and reflect with you, because my guess is you might be needing to hear what we're talking about today. And so I'd love to just share with you my experience and my story. But before I do that, I'm going to leave you hanging for a second and share with you the I Did a Hard Thing segment. This one is so good. You guys, I just love this segment. I cannot get enough of this segment. Oh, you guys, it's just so incredible. Just hear this. I wanted to share your saying, "It's a beautiful day to do hard things," helped me immensely this morning. I had to get 2 MRIs back to back. That required me to be in the machine for almost an hour. I've had MRIs before and do okay with them, but for some reason, the length of it today resulted in me feeling pretty anxious during the second half, like I needed to get out. I found myself saying in my head, "It's a beautiful day to do hard things," and then trying to return to the breath when I got overwhelmed, with a few other strategies scattered in there. Anyways, today is a beautiful day, and I did a pretty hard thing with the help of your wonderful saying. Happy Monday. Isn't that great? And the reason I loved this message so much, and I love when you guys share this stuff with me, is because, oh my gosh, I get you. Those MRI machines, they're brutal. I know I've shared with you, and this is where I'll go into sharing my hard thing. Basically, let's say this is the I Did a Hard Thing segment number 2, because that message was so beautiful. But in addition to that, I want to add on to how incredibly brave those who are going through their own mental and medical struggles and have to endure either exposure and response prevention or therapy, or the many medical tests that are involved when you have a medical condition. So for those of you who don't know my backstory, please go back and listen to my episode. It was number 105. It's where I'm talking about the onset of a medical issue that I had at the beginning of this year. finding out that I had a lesion in the back of my brain and a couple of other things that I had to sort of take care of. And I'm okay. I don't want to be scaring anybody. But I reflected then in that episode on what difficult time it was and how I had to stare the definition of failure in the face. Please do go back and listen to that. I know a lot of you said it was really, really helpful to listen to. Today, I want to reflect on a similar topic, but one that I feel so passionate about right now and has been, like I said, has been the concept and the theme of some of the highest highs and the lowest lows I've had over the last 6 months. And so let me sort of paint a picture here for you. So as I have gone throughout the year, so gratefully, I've had so many tests that have come back positive and with no symptoms. And so I'm so grateful for the fact that I'm doing great and all the tests are showing wonderful, good things. I have had to stare my humanness in the face so many times. And I'm going to be honest with you guys here. I fought it every step of the way. And the reason I want to share this with you is my guess is you're doing it too. It's so hard. It's so hard to accept that you can't do things you want to do, right? And so for me, what I have found throughout this process is at the beginning, chapter 1 was me sort of falling apart, really badly falling apart, medically, mentally, my whole being just, I know I shared with you and that, my mom came out and I needed all this support. And I just felt like everything was yanked from me. My whole life was yanked from me. And then my mum left and returned back to Australia, and I had all this support here that was given to me and that I asked for, which I have to first say, that was a huge win on my behalf. To ask for help was a big win. And that was probably the beginning of this process of accepting the common humanity that exists for all of us, which is you aren't superhuman. You are a human. You aren't strong like bull. I always used to say, don't worry about me, I'm strong like bull. That was a thing I often would say. And I'm not. I'm going to be totally honest with you. And it sucks to say that. It sucks. As I went through this process, I had to keep facing this and learn one of the most beautiful components of self-compassion. Now, we've had Kristin Neff on the podcast who talks about self-compassion. We've had Paul Gilbert on the podcast who talks about self-compassion. I myself have been on other people's podcasts talking about self-compassion. But I think a part of me bought too much into the mindfulness component, which is one of the core components. And the other one is kindness, which I love and comes naturally to me. But the piece that I really didn't dig deep enough into is this concept called common humanity. Now, common humanity is a concept where in order for us to give ourselves self-compassion, we have to step out of our own ego, step out of our own expectations of what the way we think things should be, and drop down into the fact that we are humans who have needs, who are vulnerable, who can't do it all, who won't always succeed, and who isn't perfect. right? Who's faulted, who's flawed. And when we accept that, when we can drop down into that, there is a level of self-compassion that you don't even know exists, and I didn't know exists. And I've been preaching about self-compassion for years. But you know how people say, like, there's a silver lining? Well, what I'm really trying to reflect to you here is, having gone through this really difficult year, and like I said, I resonated so much with the I Did a Hard Thing segment that I said at the start, which is I don't know if it's helpful for you guys to know, but MRI after MRI, after blood test, after CT scan, after, ultrasound, after every single test under the sun, like literally every part of my body has been examined, all being wonderful results, thank goodness. But having to go through that wasn't just about me showing up at a doctor's office and waiting and going in and coming out. It was me having to stare my common humanity in the face so hard and investigate and question everything that I believed. And this is why I bring it up to you guys, because as you can hear, I'm still working through this. I'm still putting together the way that I'm conceptualizing this. But so often I see my clients have heavy resistance to either self-compassion, exposure and response prevention, mindfulness, correcting faulty thoughts, such resistance. And by no fault of theirs, sometimes I scratch my head and I think to myself, why are they resisting the thing that will benefit them the most? I wonder what's going on with them. Why would they not want to say kind things to themselves? Why would they not want to treat themselves with respect? Or why do they hold themselves to these unrealistic expectations? It's so cruel. I wonder why the human race does this to ourselves. Why? Why do we push ourselves to levels that are so harmful, so cruel, right? With such high expectations. Why? And I think it's because we're dead afraid of our common humanity. We're so afraid of the vulnerability of accepting the humanness that is us. Oh my God, guys, you could crack up at me on how much I've resisted this, how much I have fought it this year. And I've shared with you guys, I sit across from my husband at night and I'm talking to him and he's saying to me, like, stop doing that. Like, why are you pushing yourself when you don't feel well? Or why are you signing up for that when you've been saying how exhausted you are? Why are you not saying no to people? Why don't you just sit down and rest? And I blank face stare at these people who love me dearly, and I'll say, because I'm supposed to, or because I can, or because I want to, or because it should be done, or, it's fine, I can do it. And all of that is denial of my common humanity, which is, if I slowed down enough to listen to what my body needed, instead of pretending that I'm fine, and again, I want to share with you guys, medically I am fine and mentally I am fine, but, I still have needs, and I know you have needs, and I know you have needs that aren't being met, right? I know this. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I'm guessing a piece of you, just like me, I'm not perfect, will not accept how sometimes as humans we need more, or we're weaker, or we just can't do the things that we want to do, right? and that common humanity that we can experience when we come down to the level of every other person on earth, including all those beautiful people on Instagram and all those smart people in your class and all those rich people in the school drop-off line. You know, these are all air quotes I'm doing of like, they're human too. They're human too, who are experiencing the same pain as you. It mightn't be exactly the same content. They mightn't have the same anxiety disorder. They mightn't have the same money problems, or it won't be the same. But the core experience of suffering, nobody escapes. And we're fooling ourselves if we tell ourselves that there are people who do. And we're fooling ourselves and denying ourselves an opportunity for a deep sense of self-compassion by acknowledging our humanness, right? And when we do this, this is the most beautiful piece of when I call it coming down to earth, right? Like we just got to drop down. You know, sometimes you got to smack me down because again, like I've felt that, you know, I did have to smack myself down, not aggressively, but in that degree of strength to say, come down to earth, Kimberly. You're not special. Stop treating yourself like you're supposed to be some kind of superhuman, right? Not cool, not kind, right? And I'm not saying that we aren't incredible humans who can do incredible things, of course. But we have to listen. And if our body is saying to slow down, if our body is saying something that it needs, please honor your humanness and come on down where we swallow our pride and we do the thing that's hard, right? Again, you know, I'm embarrassed to tell you of how many times I make a doctor's appointment and then schedule a ton of clients afterwards. And I'm like, I know I need to rest, but I wouldn't provide that to myself because I wouldn't accept that I'm a human who has needs, right? It just doesn't make any sense now that I look back at it, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Or I'll be exhausted, but I'll insist that something needs cleaning, doing, cooking. I'll insist that it needs doing. And it doesn't. Come on down to earth, where things don't have to look great or perfect or well or be going perfectly, right? Give yourself some slack. Allow the humanness to seep in and allow other people to see it. Which, to be honest, I had a really good chat with a friend of mine the other day. And I admitted this to her and I said, you know what the truth is? I need to get down off my high horse and share with you all that I'm not perfect. You know, I'm not always strong. I have weaknesses and things I don't do well. And I need to come on down to human life too, right? And I want to share this with you guys so that you can start this journey of accepting and meeting the human in you, the deep human, the fact that we're all in this together. We've all experienced pain and suffering. It's a part of the common core humanity. And when we can touch into that, we can deeply go into a sense of self-compassion that, again, like I said, didn't know existed. No joke, didn't know existed. Groundbreaking stuff. So I'm going to invite you just to open up to this concept a little and ask yourself, is there an area in your life where you treat yourself as if you're some kind of superhuman instead of a human, just a human? Is there an area where you hold yourself to such expectations that it's damaging? That's the real question. Are the expectations you hold yourself to damaging? because there might be a ton of information, right? So this is all about common humanity. We're tapping into it, right? We're not denying it anymore. And I'm going to do my best, right? To conclude, thank you for everyone who is supporting me through my own journey. I'm going to be honest with you guys always, because I am incredibly strong. I'm really proud of myself for how incredibly strong I am. But the truth is, I got knocked on my feet this year. That's okay. I'm taking every second to learn everything I can about myself. I'm taking every fall as an opportunity to learn who I am, what I can be doing better, how I can treat myself in a way where the suffering ends there. The suffering ends with the events happening in my life, not the suffering that is caused by me refusing to accept the suffering in my life, right? That's what it's about. So that being said, thank you so much for your support. I'm going to keep it real over here. And that's my goal, right? Through me being vulnerable means you can be vulnerable, which means we all get stronger. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. I will continue to update you as I proceed. I feel like I'm getting close to the end here of this journey or period or season that I'm in. And I'm really ready for the next season. I can't wait to see what it has in store for me. So I will be here doing my thing, falling down, standing back up, crying a little, laughing a little, maybe crying a lot and laughing a lot too. That's cool. But I'm so grateful to have you guys to hold my hand as I do the hard thing too. All right? Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Please note that this podcast or any other resources from cbtschool.com should not replace professional mental health care. If you feel you would benefit, please reach out to a provider in your area. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for supporting cbtschool.com.